Welcome to another episode of the Dabao Show, and this new series, Food for Thought, is the series where if you're sick of BK's nonsense, you get ramblings from the other one, me. Hey guys, this is a day in the life of the Dabao Show's editor, me, Cash. Now a good day starts with a good cup of coffee. Today we are drinking a Rwanda Andre Hakizimana from Qatar Coffee. Since we are starting this video talking about coffee, I thought it'd be nice to introduce what I have in my home coffee bar. Built in myself with my dad, by the way. Had to get the flex in there. It's not the most complex or opulent, but at the same time, I think it's pretty competent, and there's a workflow as well, which I'll be taking you all through. First off, I drink filters most of the time. I used to have an espresso machine here, but I felt it was completely impractical if I have to be honest. The cleanup is not worth it for 2 to 3 cups max a day. Total waste of time if you have to see that according to my schedule. So this gives you an idea of how this bar has been planned. Now, a non-negotiable is a temperature holding kettle. I haven't tried much variations, but Fellow's kettle, while pricey, is so stable and so reliable. Because of my brewing techniques, I do have 2, which will be the most opulent part about my bar. Thanks Matt for your recipes, shout out. I am using a scale from Akaya, or is it Asaya? Which is where I kind of regretted spending my money on. I mean, I have no complaints about it right now, but we all know for home use, you don't need something that good. There are other options like Time More, which is way cheaper. But in Paraphrase, we actually use a cheap $20 one from Shopee and it does its job. If you're interested, there's an affiliate link down in the description below. I am using a Time More hand grinder and it's meant to be more for dual purpose. I love bringing a brewing set when I travel, hence the simplicity. This grinder has been serving me well for the best part of 3 years, but I think it's starting to wear down now. I do see a bunch of like inconsistent grinds, and also as it ages, the threads on these segments will also start to come off when you are grinding hard. So just check in between grinding to be sure, unless you end up like me. Didn't happen just once, let me tell you. If you have money to spend, I'll recommend the Varia. Because of its versatility and the fact that it's not as noisy, I believe it's a great option for home use. But Cash, what about pouring away all the purging water and things like that? Fret not, because this whole workflow has been thought through. You see this small little kettle here? This is where I collect the unused water and then I use it to water my plants. Someone mentioned before, that would just breed mosquitoes. Well, fret not, because whatever I use for the day is really just enough to water my plants. So that's proper genius. You don't get that on the James Hoff. So recently I've been trying to find segments of our old days of episodes just to rehash for our YouTube shorts. Gotta do whatever you can to, grow the channel. So you can do me a favor by, clicking that button. And the conversation about constantly arguing with customers about price points and educating new drinkers on these things, it can get messy. Being baristas, and you know how crazy slams can get. Sometimes we don't have the opportunity or time to speak with customers and share a bit more. So I've been thinking, what's the best way to mitigate these issues? How do we strike a balance between fulfilling the needs and demands of everyday coffee drinkers, yet provide a safe and conducive space for people who are very interested in this scene of specialty coffee to learn and appreciate better? And this led me to a fun activity, designing my ideal coffee shop. Let's remember that as we're discussing this, it's about being ideal. So a good chunk of practicality and sense will be disregarded as of now. The idea to fulfill dual functionality of a coffee shop isn't new. I mean, let's be honest, even Starbucks have done it. They've got their regular menu for the mass market, but they have that reserve section for the bougie stuff. And whatever you think about Starbucks and their products, they have the right idea. Having a coffee shop with 2 sections will be prime for all those involved. The first section will fulfill the part where
coffee is a cheap product, it's a commodity.
People streaming to get their caffeine fixes, weekend brunches, people wanting a space to do business meetings and things like that. The coffee shop could even bring in more generic tasting beans, which usually cost a little more. It's because, this demographic are people who don't appreciate the higher end stuff, and that could help the business save a bit of money. You then have a second section which carries more expensive coffees with tasting notes that, are funky, interesting, not the stuff that regular coffee shops would usually hold. And since it's idealistic, right, you just throw in the roaster there as well. You then result in kind of like a premium, less hectic space, which is a lot more conducive for appreciation and education. Heck, even put the baristas in like freaking white shirts, button shirts and aprons. I mean, Taiwan does it. Even at some places where I worked at, it was mandatory to wear shirts on weekends. So this calmer environment does allow the baristas to interact with the patrons a lot more and, push that whole education scheme out. Since we're going idealistic, I'm going to go bombastic and add more things to this dream coffee shop of mine. workshop spaces, which then ticks more on the education checklist. Hosting workshops are brilliant not just for interested groups or individuals, but perhaps companies who want to do team building exercises. The space could be used for public cupping as well, so that's another way to further utilize your resources. Taking inspiration from Onyx Coffee Labs in the US of A, a media room comes in handy as well. It's 2024 guys, social media content is so important these days for these kind of businesses, from your everyday updates to your content marketing and things like that. There's so much for social media people to do, but sometimes there's so little resources. I would know, I've been there. And given that this dream coffee shop has a mantra for education, churning out such related videos will be a brilliant way to create awareness, yet providing relevant knowledge and information as well. Well, obviously some dreams just stay dreams, and here are some of the cons that I'm sure a few of you skeptical. I see you, right? Already have these in your mind. First off is the pricing, obviously. When you look at real estate prices in Singapore, it's going to be pricey as fuck just to own this place with 2 sections, probably a couple of floors as well for your media room and things like that. And then when you need renovation to achieve that premium look, you need to accommodate that roaster, which means exhaust, and then probably some sort of special clearance as well. Custom designs, yada yada yada. You need all this to work, and that all costs money. Next, is the demand in Singapore large enough to be profitable? It is a numbers game at the end of the day, and when discussing such things, you do eventually have to get practical. The other demand that people fail to think about when you're on the other side of the bar is that the staffing, right? If you have been watching Days Off, a lot of us has been lamenting about the lack of staff, and it's true. I mean, you can get a media trained person who is not part of like the F&B barista pool, so that saves one role for hiring, but you then think about the other things, right? You need baristas, you need chefs, you need roasters, you need separate educators, housekeeping, sales, the list goes on. So it is an expensive project. So does this make a great concept for an ideal coffee shop? Hell yeah, it's my idea. Is it practical though? Honestly, I'd like to believe so. Does anyone want to invest in us? We'll assemble like all the best coffee people, and then it'd be like the Justice League of... It'll be like a Justice League of all the best coffee people that we know. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, do subscribe and leave a like as well. And we'll see you in the next one.